Summoned Slaughterer. By Ido Masayoshi.
Chapter 45, Killer Queen. What's the story with us gathering here, I wonder? It is an announcement by Princess Sama and that hero Sama, you know. The knight Sama with the thin sword? I heard he played an active role again. They say he repelled a large army of Vichy with a few soldiers. The topic of the noisy populace, if one had to say, it is one-sidedly focusing on the new noble of folklore, Hifumi, rather than on the princess, but it was mostly due to Hifumi's orders that it became the talk of the town. Because of the third night unit being nonchalantly mixed up within the crowd, although it would be announced by Princess Imararia after this, the matter of Hifumi's involvement had been circulated already. This kind of information manipulation work was the first time for the third night unit, but because of Sabnik leading the operation after having received the request from Moriga, it was effective to the degree of surprising all of the night unit. Sabnik is also slipping into the crowd. Apparently that knight of the thin sword is within the royal castle currently. I am told he has achieved amazing war results with Vichy as his opponent, you know? Sabnik, while buying sweets at a stall, he spreads the topic as gossip. Ooh, I guess he will again receive a reward from Imararia-sama. He is a great fellow. While smiling at the good response of the old man manning the stall, he watches the reaction of his surroundings in a casual manner and understands that all of the people in this place, the voice had reached, are indeed listening carefully with great interest. Good grief, what a way of manipulating the hearts of people! It is a personality resembling the demons from fairy tales. Sabnik. While continuing the mission, Sabnik had a complicated feeling whether he should feel happy or frightened having accepted this kind of personality in the requested matter. In the meanwhile, the third night unit checked everyone standing in front of the royal castle. Soon the princess will make her appearance. They repeated continuously in a loud voice. Even as their voice become hoarse close to being mute, the crowd doesn't cease to chatter. Oh, Princess Sama. With someone raising their voice, the commotion subsides. The knights having exhausted their throats ended up feeling depressed. Having made her appearance on the balcony, it was Princess Imararia. And next to her was Hifumi. In a shadowy place near the back Horiga could vaguely be seen waiting. Well then, what will happen this time? Sabnik had already a feeling that it wasn't about something possibly happening but rather about something definitely going to happen. Not being at the audience hall anymore, Imararia had personally invited Hifumi to her office. Urging him into the reception sofa, a maid prepared black tea. So, it is about this time's case, but Hifumi, the entire situation is my responsibility. Although the matter with Piju is regrettable, I only implore you to not punish the other night units and the people at the castle. Can you accept just this much? Imararia, interrupting the topic Hifumi has started, Imararia straight away apologizes like that. Ah, that's fine already. Even if I acted violently now, it would only be a story of repeatedly dealing with shitty opponents anyway. That's boring. Hifumi, in the first place, far from having a foundation in group combat, there isn't even decent training in interpersonal combat, don't you agree? A worn-out dissatisfaction began to leak out from Hifumi's mouth on the occasion. Although it is strange, Imararia was relieved that the standard of this castle's knights didn't raise Hifumi's interest. Then, Imararia, I am understanding that this time the responsibility is yours. The mastermind died. Since, rather than killing you, there is an even better task left for you, I won't kill you now. Hifumi, even though his words aren't permitting a peace of mind in the least, her life has been spared. But, I wonder what is that better task than killing me? Imararia was uneasy. Even if he demanded her as a woman, she wouldn't be able to refuse. If he was really desiring this of me, I should try to take my own life, I think. However, as she resolved herself by putting strength into her slender arms laying atop her knees, she decided to not give up her life no matter what happens until her brother is safely crowned and until she discovers a plan to somehow calm the man in front of her. But that plan was quickly denied. You will become the sovereign. Because I will support you by getting rid of the opposition, you will become the absolute ruler of this country, building a powerful and sturdy state. Let's say that this will be your atonement for this time's affair. Hifumi, such. Then, what about my brother? What will happen to Aparos? In that kid's surrounding there are supporters pushing for that kid to become the next king. If I were to aim at becoming the queen, it will end up becoming a strife disregarding mine or that kid's intention. I'm Raria, I don't care. There won't happen anything if he is obedient, but if he opposes this, I will kill him. Hifumi's face showed that it wasn't significant enough for him to listen to such topic and that he would cut him down without doubt. It is an extremely calm face. However, even if I intend to succeed as queen, I don't have the ability to do that either. I'm Raria. Before summoning Hifumi, she was unaffected by these matters without getting in contact with them and was simply called saint by the people. Compared to the time she thought I am only a decoration after all, she had now reached the point where she took politics into her consideration more or less. But she hasn't received any education in becoming a statesman. As a result of that, she has lost the knight she trusted. Currently she is monopolizing this country. You are still young. If I am not mistaken, you are 14 years old, right? It is even fine to learn from a noble or the prime minister from now on. Besides, a statesman isn't a person that does something with their own ability. I believe that you will excel as statesman if you find capable retainers and use them skillfully. Hifumi, why is that man talking about politics to a royalty like myself? Notwithstanding my confusion, he is giving me words of consolation. Even if only slightly, my feelings are settling down. However, this is definitely a mistake, she also understood. You aren't an incompetent person like your brother who is clinging to his parent, I think. For now it is fine to make a move in order to protect the country and save those around you. During that time you can forge strong soldiers. It is also good to send them to folklore for training. I will polish them without fail. Hifumi, what the hell are you aiming for? I'm Raria. By increasing the amount of strong people it will become a lot more interesting to oppose this world. People who have trained their techniques will oppose people boosting with raw strength. I want to increase the number of people thinking up refined schemes to kill people with sharp senses. I also want new weapons to be created for the sake of killing very efficiently. Hifumi, while having glittering eyes like a boy talking about his dreams, to Imeraria, what Hifumi was talking about, was similar to the words of the tyrant she had only read a bit in the past. Then, this world, this country will end up lapsing into chaos. Imeraria, I wonder whether that's what will happen or not. It depends on what the people of this world want to do. In the world I come from, war advances technology. For the sake of victory people forge their minds, putting a lot of effort into coming up with elaborate schemes. Hifumi, just what kind of blood-stained world is that? Imeraria became terrified by just imagining it. From what world had the hero been summoned? It was several young nobles that came and entered the room at that point. Imeraria-sama. Maid, the nobles entering in a rude manner pushed the maid standing in attendance aside. Seeing Hifumi's face they snorted as if scoffing at him. I was wondering who it was, but I see it's the upstart who became a viscount recently, huh? But it seems you were skillfully buttering up to Imeraria. Now that we have arrived, there is no business left here for you anymore. Noble. Furthermore, several of the other nobles also scold Hifumi. Imuraria-sama, the commoners are currently gathering in front of the royal castle. Something about receiving words from Imuraria-sama. Noble, the populace is. Imuraria. Imuraria turns her sight towards Hifumi. Ah, it is me who had them gathered. Let's make a showy proclamation. Though you are leading this country only for a short time now, is what I think. Hifumi, in place of Imuraria, who was lost for words, the nobles roared. Bastard, you are getting cocky trying to monopolize the national politics. Noble A, moreover, what an attitude towards Imuraria-sama. Impermissible. Noble B, while listening to the screaming voices of the nobles totally undisturbed, Hifumi stood up calmly, took out his katana and drew it. At that moment a single noble had his head separated from his body. Men only raising their voices are superfluous. Only those holding the will to fight are necessary. Hifumi, as Imuraria looks out from the balcony of her office, the entire part of the castle is crowded with people. Even the word many is lukewarm in regards to the amount of expectant gazes she feels. Up until now she had gazed at the city from this balcony. She had addressed the populace, just like now, many times, but it was the first time for her to step on the stage while feeling this heavy-hearted. Sporadically seeing the figures of the Third Night Unit, she inadvertently wanted to call out to them to save her, but this was a situation she had brought upon herself. Although they might come running if she requested their help, she knows what will happen then. Next to her Hifumi is standing. In the back there is the former slave called Origa, who is now his attendant. And behind her a number of corpses of the young nobles are scattered about. They have been young nobles not long ago. They didn't consider in the slightest that the upstarts of low social status would oppose them or that he would really kill them. However, that wasn't the reality. Without them noticing how kind the world had been to them, their end already came. From now on the significance of social status will gradually vanish. It will become a world where ability will be the criterion and not pedigree, Hifumi had told her. Unable to imagine it well, Imuraria asked whether this world wouldn't become a place where the strong oppress the weak then, but Hifumi laughed and shook his head. It is the fetters called birth that label a weak person to remain weak. It will be a world without the binding of lineage, making it possible for the weak to defeat the strong. Hifumi, although Imuraria couldn't understand after all, she still grasped just one thing. The detestable judgment and the poor conclusion of obeying to something called difference in pedigree just because they are royalty or nobles. Hifumi wants to raise the number of people being judged by their true strength. This is an extremely frightening world, but Imuraria mustn't fail to protect the country within such world. Although she has no power to fight herself, she is able to come up with something. Hifumi said. There are also people surviving by using their head even without resorting to brute strength. Think, and ponder about it, Imuraria tells herself. As it is now, the contest to become the sovereign will begin between the Imuraria faction and the Aperos faction. It will result in many people dying. Even Aperos or her mother might be amongst those. Everyone, Imuraria, with Imuraria starting to talk. The crowd's noise subsided into silence and everyone listened to her words. Due to Vichy and her and this country is in peril now. However, thanks to the great efforts of the newly inaugurated Earl, Hifumi-sama, a big miracle has happened. Imuraria, Utilda. With the people raising their voices in admiration, voices giving praise to Hifumi can be heard. Sabnik's voice was amongst them as well. They are getting elated easily. Hifumi, the voice of Hifumi, who had a forced smile, reached Imuraria's ears. Then she suddenly hit upon a good idea. But, expecting the fight to finish flawlessly, knights ended up losing their life due to my blunder. even though it would have been fine to just leave things to Hifumi-sama. Because of me getting unnecessarily involved, valuable lives were lost. Imararia, exaggeratedly covering her face with both hands, Imararia was convinced that this matter would cause her popularity to drop. If she lost the support of the populace with this, it would become a setback in the plan of using her to manage the country. Although this might cause her death, she didn't intend to live just to become her own brother's enemy. Looking at Hifumi while concealing her face, he was grinning. Now then, ladies and gentlemen. The story just now is the truth, but I think it will be wrong for me to blame Imararia-sama for that. Hifumi, slowly surveying the crowd, he makes sure that everyone is listening carefully. I, who fought in order to protect the country, feel obliged to forgive Imararia-sama. That being the case, shouldn't the knights, who had been deployed by Imararia-sama for the sake of protecting us and the people of our country and died fighting towards that cause, receive our admiration? Hifumi, the crowd surged in response to Hifumi's appeal. Even though the knights of the 3rd Knight Unit, mixed amongst the crowd, were perplexed, it became a situation where the people couldn't be controlled anymore. Imararia-sama, me and all of you have to rack our brains how to protect the people, who are citizens of the same country as us. For this reason, think about it. It mustn't be allowed for someone, who doesn't attempt to do something and to accomplish something for this country, to take the throne. The only person suitable to stand up and lead us is Imararia-sama. Hifumi, with Hifumi's words raising Imararia to the top, the crowd is gradually becoming excited. Originally only being a person having popularity, with the hero approving of her conduct, the people welcome the mysterious feeling of expectation. I will make an oath here. I will support Imararia-sama in becoming the queen. Together we will change this country into a country holding strong power. Everybody, please also support Imararia-sama together with me. Hifumi. The words of Hifumi, desiring for everyone's individual support, had a powerful impact on the crowd. Until now it was strictly forbidden for them to meddle in politics, but just now the noble and princess in front of their eyes, admitting their own failures to the populace, said that the support of the people was indispensable. As there were also those who applauded towards the princess, Hifumi's praising voice became even louder. Even after Hifumi accompanying Imararia disappeared from the balcony, the agitation of the people didn't die down for quite a while. Now they have done it. The story of Hifumi supporting Imararia and succeeding the throne spread in a flash within the king's castle. Those of the prince faction are irritated by those news without hiding that. Especially the high-ranking nobles, leading the faction, mistook the method as coup d'état performed in the absence of the prince within their raging minds. The prince's real mother, the queen, is amongst them as well. By no means I expected Imararia to have such an ambition. Queen, her appearance, enduring her fury while gritting her teeth with grinding sounds, is somehow blood-curdling. Having been the queen so far, rather than Imararia, who would be married off to someone anyway, she loved Prince Aparos, who would succeed as king sooner or later, dearly. Although she believed that Imararia had understood this as well, her facial expression is becoming even more grim due to the feeling called betrayal. However, Imararia-sama is perfectly suited for the support of the populace. Noble, something like the support of the commoners doesn't matter at all. Haven't you heard? The young nobles wanting to give the princess their advice were all killed. Even the conservative nobles won't forgive this much oppression. Queen, if that's the case, there is nothing left but to have Imararia leave the stage eventually, it seems. Noble, Owe. Another noble, the speaking nobles, noticing that the princess' real mother, the queen, is present at this place albeit being hostile towards the princess, fearfully turned their gaze in the direction of the queen. It doesn't matter. It is that child that has betrayed me, as her mother, first. Queen, declaring this decisively, the queen immediately raised her hand in order to prepare for giving a command. So that you aren't hindered by that man, kill that girl instantly at the time when she is sleeping in her bedroom. The most my maternal love allows is to ensure her passing away without having to suffer. Queen, seeing the pupils oozing with madness, the nobles of the prince faction bowed their heads all at once.
Chapter 46, We Will Rock You.
Chapter 47, Not Meant for Me. Having put 10 knights to the sword, Hifumi is sheathing the katana in the scabbard on his back very contentedly. Imararia timidly made an appearance from within the shadows of the bed. Although he senses her movements, Hifumi doesn't even look at Imararia as if not caring about her existence at all. As she shifts her line of sight to the corner of the room, where Hifumi had sent her mother flying before, she saw the queen's corpse. Observing her mother having died while displaying a reproachful facial expression, Imararia was confused whether it was fine to mourn or to rejoice. Looking at her own room ornamented with splatters of blood, she is rethinking how it came to this. Together with Hifumi, Imararia ended up announcing her intention of inheriting the crown in front of the populace. The very same day, after quickly finishing her work, she returned to her bedroom. Why has such thing? Imararia, changing into a light red nightgown, Imararia sat down on the bed and heaved a long sigh. With a terribly worn-out mood, she feels her heavy shoulders. I wonder what the hell he is thinking? Imararia still can't comprehend Hifumi's thought process. Obviously the reason isn't that he wants to become the king. Going by the information from the Knight unit, it seems that he has ended up entrusting the administration of his territory, with only a few policies, to the civil officials. Furthermore, even reducing the overall tax rate and reaching the point that the territorial soldiers are close to the masses, his reputation amongst the majority of the populace appears to be good. Although he is using a lot of funds for the development of weapons and such, it isn't like he is particularly living in luxury. If he has spare time, he will look around strolling through the city. Many people have witnessed him doing such things as practicing his swordsmanship. He is a feudal lord who is fair and kind towards the populace and doesn't shirk away from putting in effort for the sake of protecting the people. That seems to be the evaluation being held by many people about Hifumi. As that assessment is totally different from the one she came to see and hear about, Imararia can't suddenly believe that this is the same person they are talking about. Do you hate the royalty and nobles? Imararia, even though she pondered about that, she had also received a report stating that he had killed a considerable number of the slum's inhabitants. Simply put, without concerning himself about social status and official position, there doesn't seem to be any deciding factor but only whether or not one is hindering him. That summed it up entirely. She is at her wit's end as she thinks about it. Having obtained the support of the masses, there is no one else as difficult to deal with as that lunatic. If she removes him unskillfully, she will end up being viewed as villain here. The lost Imararia's ears pick up the sound of knocking. What's the matter? Imararia, there was a maid waiting for orders in front of the bedroom, but she entered nervously. That is, Earl Touno has come. Maid, towards the baffled maid, Imararia sighed for the umpteenth time today. Visiting the room of an unmarried woman at night time. It doesn't matter, please let him through. Imararia, however. Maid, the maid seems to be worrying about the danger and rumors of letting a man enter the princess' bedroom, but Imararia doesn't care about Hifumi's lack of common sense anymore. There is no problem. It still can be called good that he didn't just come and enter forcibly. Imararia, That's a reprehensible way of talking about someone. Hifumi, pushing the maid aside, Hifumi entered. He is carrying some large package on his shoulders. Receiving my ill manners is something called minimal resistance. And? What might that be? I'm Mararia, before that. Hifumi, interrupting I'm Mararia's words, Hifumi turned around to the maid. Get in touch with the 3rd Night Unit and tell them to come here. Let's see. Call out to the nearby Midas and tell him to come here armed for the sake of guarding. Hifumi, as the maid is darting her eyes about due to suddenly receiving orders, Mararia commanded her to do as she was told. With the maid leaving the place after bowing, Hifumi tosses the package he was carrying on top of the bed. The long and narrow object was thrashing around on the bed. Oh, it woke up. Hifumi, this. Is it a living creature? Mararia instinctively jumped back from the bed and hid herself in Hifumi's shadow. There isn't any need to be so scared. It's your mother after all, I guess. Hifumi, although the queen's hair was disheveled and her clothes were stripped off, she was glaring at Hifumi in a condition of having her hands tied behind her back and a gag forced into her mouth. Mother? Mararia, as Hifumi removed the gag, a scream burst out from her. Behaving in such manner towards me. Do you really think this will finish peacefully? Queen, Hifumi-sama, why did you do such a? Mararia grabbed Hifumi's arm. The queen changed the target of her verbal attack, of what she thought about this treatment, towards her daughter. Mararia. I never expected you to use such a sort of way. To seduce a man into doing something like binding your mother. Finally you showed your true feelings because you are aiming for the crown. Queen, mother. Mararia, due to her mother scowling at her with a blood-curdling facial expression, even Mararia lacks any words. That's how it is. Somehow this fellow wants the prince to succeed the crown one way or another rather than Mararia. Hifumi, the queen snapped once again at Hifumi, saying this as if it is someone else's problem. Be quiet. You king-slaying, seriously criminal, person. You are a fool pretending to be a noble without even having officially been conferred the title by the king. Queen, is that so? Hifumi, if it's the kingdom's law, then there will be no problem with being appointed to the rank of a territorial noble. As for the usual procedure, only the king would be able to do that, but Mararia, in other words, her criticism is irrelevant. Hifumi, although Mararia believed being a king-slayer isn't wrong, I think, since it simply was revenge for Hifumi, he apparently doesn't believe this to be a wrongdoing. Well then, Hifumi's story is, while considering how to deal with the current problem for the succession of the throne, the prince faction was in the process of setting up an ambush within the castle. He found out that the queen had ordered the 1st Night Unit to assassinate Mararia. Therefore, once the entire Night Unit exited the room, he restrained the queen. Without believing in this story, Mararia looked at the queen, but the queen didn't deny it. It is only appropriate for Aparos to succeed the throne. Mararia, above inviting someone, who plunged this country into a crisis, to come into the castle, you are unforgivably scheming to usurp the country itself. Queen, Mararia felt as if she had been plunged into darkness. For the sake of protecting the peace of this country, she is desperate. So that the country doesn't scatter into pieces due to losing its king, she is frantically thinking. Even though she should have acted after her mother had collapsed, for the sake of her yet youthful and helpless brother, she somehow got until here while also struggling. So, what will you do? Hifumi, Mararia came to her senses due to Hifumi's question. What, as in? Mararia, at present it feels like she is your enemy rather than mine. Since it will also be troublesome if she keeps yapping about usurpation, I brought her here for the time being. Hifumi, Rather than getting angry, she is astonished about Hifumi pridefully being concerned about her. Such thing like being an enemy. I'm Raria, this fellow wants to kill you. How can you not call her an enemy? Hifumi, that is. I'm Raria, suddenly and forcefully drawing his face close. I'm Raria can't continue talking. Also, if you keep her alive as is, I am certain it will turn into a domestic conflict between your and the prince's faction within the castle. The confrontation will continue on the surface and behind the scenes. The ones receiving the brunt of that will be the maids and men servants, or in other words, the populace. Hifumi, T/N, the devil whispers. Speaking towards Hifumi's conveniences, if there are fewer operating the country, it will also become easy to control the law, to sum it up in a sentence. But he purposely left that unsaid. If this fellow survives, she will become the prince's supporter one way or the other and be a hindrance to me, I am sure. If this fellow doesn't exist, it might be possible that the prince becomes obedient as well. In that situation, I am confident that you will be able to establish the stable political system you desire. Hifumi, Raria pondered about it while chewing her lower lip to the degree of blood running down. It becomes an escape in that way, and after consolidating her thoughts, she squeezed out her voice. It is impossible for me. Raria. The queen's expression displayed that this was only natural, but before long her face turned pale due to the following words. Therefore, I want to leave the decision to Hifumi, but Raria, are you abandoning your mother? Queen, who is it that aimed at whose life first? Raria thought. It was a mortifying decision, but she was able to consent with her current words. Then I won't hold back. Hifumi drew his katana and struck the thin neck of the queen, laying on the bed, with the back of his katana. Having her neck broken, the queen died with wide-opened eyes. I wonder if that really was a good thing? Raria, I think it is still too early for you to decide that. Hifumi lifted Raria at her waist and threw her down on the opposite side of the bed. Kaya. Raria, hiding the queen's corpse within the futon, he shuts the canopy's curtains. Stay hidden for a while. There are several people coming this way here. Probably it is the lot from the first night unit, coming to kill you. Hifumi, Midas grouped it and make it in time, huh? Hifumi grumbled. Such. Raria, usually the night unit is bound to protect her. Having been told about them coming to kill her was something she couldn't yet comprehend within her mind. Because I will be protecting you for now, desperately think about how you want to change your surroundings and what it would be fine to do after this. The matter about inciting Praju, the intention was good but the plan to execute it was inept. Hifumi, being abruptly praised, Raria floated a facial expression of suspicion. Without that the degree of backbone, it will be impossible for you to survive the war starting after this. I wonder whether you want to exact your revenge upon me one day? If that's the case, don't trip at this place. I want you to show you're desperate will to survive until your blade reaches me. Hifumi, clenching her teeth with a grinding sound, Raria fixed her eyes on Hifumi. Yes, that's fine. Anything's fine, even anger. A like-minded person, having a volition, will certainly clash with me. There has to be a meaning in killing each other. It has to be enjoyable. Hifumi, pretending to not see Raria, drew his katana and ecstatically looked at the Hammon. T/N, Hammon, the visual effect created by the hardening process of the blade. Source. Wiki. The footsteps of several people stop in front of the room. When Midas and Sabnik arrived at Raria's bedroom, after struggling along the way, it was the exact moment when Hifumi left the room. Hifumi, fighting with an enemy that gave some kind of resistance, had a truly refreshed facial expression even though it was night. Too late. I already took care of all the prey. Hifumi, Imararia-sama is? Midas, she's inside. Watch your steps as there are corpses scattered all over. Hifumi, while wondering what his kindness was about, Midas entered the room. Though simple, the bedroom was provided with high-class furnishing. A great number of blood-stained corpses were spread on the floor. Even the miserable figure of the queen is amongst those. Hear about the circumstances from Imararia. I am off. Hifumi, you are off, you say? Where to? Sabnik, my distinctive job. Hifumi, seeing off Hifumi, who was passing through the corridor while leisurely shouldering the katana, Sabnik shook his head with a face full of astonishment. Haven't the night units been decreased around half with today? No, wait, the second is absent, so the decrement is only 1/3. Sabnik, are you joking around in this situation? Please guide Imararia-sama to the spare bedroom. We will keep guarding without change until morning. Midas, though it would be nice if it were just joking around. Sabnik, someone's scream could be heard from the other side of the corridor. Thus, since Hifumi-sama will be cleaning the trash out within the king's castle after this, please make your rounds so that the trash doesn't escape. Origa, suddenly coming to their office and even detaining those, with the exception of the knights on duty, wanting to go back, against their will, Origa gave the gathered knights of the 3rd Night Unit an order under the pretense of it being an explanation. Because all of them were aware what kind of standing the girl in front of them has, they abide obediently, as resisting it would be unwise, while having disgruntled thoughts. That. It is already time for me to go home. Female knight, not allowed. Origa, not allowed you say. Female knight, with her colleagues consoling her to give up, the female knight sat down in resignation. Currently the castle is divided into the prince faction and the princess faction. It looks like the 1st Night Unit is part of the prince faction. Going by Hifumi-sama's explanation, it seems to be very likely that the 1st Night Unit will move tonight in order to assassinate the princess. Origa, what? I don't believe such foolishness. Not even as a joke. They are in the position of protecting the royal castle. Origa claps her hands in order to calm down the bewildered knights. At any rate, seeing that Hifumi-sama decided to make Imararia-sama the queen, they will simply die if they turn hostile. As for the 3rd Night Unit, you are given the role of restraining those trying to flee from the castle. Your location will be even further outside than the castle's gate, which is guarded by the 1st Night Unit. Origa, opening the iron-ribbed fan, she had retrieved from within her bosom. Origa is slowly swinging it for the sake of fanning the face while talking. But even if it is Lord Touno's instruction, behaving as if hostile to a fellow Night Unit. Origa interrupted the mumbling words of refusal with the closing of her iron-ribbed fan. As if hostile, that's not it. You already are hostile to them. Or are you one of the prince's faction? In short, as far as Hifumi-sama is concerned, you already are an enemy. Origa, seeing the hand holding the iron-ribbed fan being filled with strength at a glance, the elder knights went out ahead. Please wait. I will follow Imararia-sama's will. Haven't you called Midas Group for that sake as well? That's right. Besides, there isn't any need to fight. During the time Hifumi-sama cleans the castle's interior, it will be alright as long as no people enter or leave the castle. Also, please tidy up tomorrow morning. Origa, any more sweetness dripping out from Origa's cheerful smiling will be dreadful, the knights thought. Thanks to Hifumi-sama, the 3rd Night Unit will take care of Imararia very closely within the king's castle. You will likely reach the point of being treated as very influential war potential. Origa, in addition, Origa continues. If you are able to accept making an effort here and doing your job properly with the mindset of cooperation, then Hifumi-sama will kindly overlook the actions of the third night unit the other day, understand? Origa, though I won't forgive you, Origa's eyes told them. In this way the third night unit got stuck with standing watch at the royal castle without a wink of sleep until the next morning.
Chapter 48, Night of Fire. Civil Official Instructional Education. You say? Representative. In the room arranged for the purpose of training and meetings for the civil official slaves at the mansion of the Lord of Folklore, the representatives of the cities, that had changed allegiance from Vichy to Songren'd, gathered. In front of their eyes the civil official slave came, with a sullen-looking face, was continuing to explain indifferently. Next to him Brakra sat acting as a clerk. That's right. The territorial principal Earl Touno has said to gather from each city a selected few in order for them to receive the same education we received. They will be taught in general subjects and practical application. All of you gentlemen, the town mayors, who are participating at today's assembly, please organize a gathering at each respective city after this, and together with the civil official candidates that will be elected, you will receive the same education alongside. Came. As they were summoned by a new influential person, the city representatives were scared within their mind whether their life would be in danger. They were relieved to hear that their own position would be preserved to a certain extent. But, with the continuing words of Kame, whose facial expression didn't change, that sense of security was blown away. By the way, if your grades are bad, you will be removed from your post without any useless discussions. Since we have prepared something like replacements of your posts in case you are lacking the ability for your duty, I'd like you to give me your acknowledgement in advance, please. Kame. There is a considerable number amongst the representatives, who took over the post of representative by mere succession. Of course there are also some who managed their assignment properly, but likewise there are those who rested on their laurels coming with the status. Seemingly having an idea, there were several amongst them drenched in sweat turning pale. Please stay in Folklore for the duration of 1 month. You can be relieved because the representative proxies will dispatch personnel and soldiers for field work as well as recruitment during your time in Folklore. We have prepared appropriate accommodations for you on our side. Please hand in an application beforehand, if you wish to stay in an inn of your choice. We will distribute the blank application form later. Kame. While reading the written down notes, Kame spoke in a smooth and clear voice. Are there any inquiries up until this point? Kame. I wanted to take it home and examine it temporarily, but. Representative. A single person, who became pale earlier during the talk about the grading, nervously made such proposal. Hearing that question, Kame looks directly into the eyes of that man expressionlessly. This is bad. Brakra. Brakra saw the occasions when Kame's habit came out. No. Representative. As the man says uncomfortably due to Kame's motionless staring, Kame opened his mouth. In what way do you want to examine it? Currently I am telling you the objective and order from your feudal lord, who is also your lord and my master. If you take it home, what will you examine there? Will you abide or reject it? In other words, you and your city have no other choice but to swear absolute allegiance towards not only Songren'd but also Earl Touno. Kame. It's diff. Representative. I will fully convey this matter to Hifumi-sama. Although I don't know in what kind of manner that gentleman will confirm your loyalty. I am well aware that if it was his words, you should be resolved for your city's scale to decrease by around half. Kame. as he is speaking of the details monotonously and boringly, not only the man he is looking at, but even the representatives in the surrounding are trembling in fear. Yo, you've misunderstood me. Please forgive my humble self. Representative. Misunderstanding, it is? I will use my privilege of properly record that you have no more than this level of situation perception ability. Naturally, it will be treated as primary factor for the minus points for the overall judgment. And also, please do understand that from now on all of your interactions and actions hereafter will definitely be transmitted to us and we will pay attention to them. Kame. Brockra threw a fleeting glance at Kame, giving a profound proclamation while the man is bowing, almost about to rub his head on the floor. He knew this was also going to be his record. Everyone, I hope that you very carefully choose the words you use as well. Our intention is to have honest and open-minded interactions, but you won't be forgiven if you decide to antagonize us. You are not permitted to obstruct the administration of the territory. And, although the new lord you have chosen is very tolerant towards loyal subordinates, he is absolutely unforgiving towards his opponents. Please bear in mind that a single word can cause you to lose your life, and that is no exaggeration either. Kame. There wasn't a single person opening their mouth when Kame asked, "Are there any other questions to be addressed?" The captain of the first night unit is Rybezl, translator note, Rybezaru. He waited for Dumas, who went to kill Imeraria, in his personal office within the castle. Vice Captain Ringul, translator note, Ring-Uru, matching Dumas in rank, waits on his side. So late. Rybezl. It is only the assassination of a single girl who lives in a room inside the same castle. Even if Dumas had some reluctance and hesitation, the time, by when he should have finished it, had passed a long time ago. What worries him even more is that the Chamberlain couldn't find the figure of the Queen in her room when he went there. Even though they are currently searching for her, they haven't found her yet. Maybe some kind problem is occurring? Rangul. He considers it for a short while. Although around 10 knights of the first night unit are assigned for duty next, it will be fine for half of them going to check, I guess. Possibly. Take some people and go have a look. Rybezl. Just when Ringul wanted to try to do something in reply, there is the sound of knocking. Did he come? Rybezl. However, even as they are waiting, the door isn't opening. What's the matter? Ringul. Approaching the door, in the moment Ringul's hand grabbed the knob, a blade penetrated the wooden door. It pierced Ringul's head. Extracting the blade, a BYU, indistinguishable whether voice or sound, could be heard. Ringul, trying to cling to the door, collapsed. And then, Hifumi entered by destroying the door with a kick, sending the door and the corpse of Ringul flying. "It's you, bastard." Rybezl. Rybezl is recognizing Hifumi's face. He happened to be present during the audience when the king was killed. "Although I came to see since I was certain there was a presence here, what room is this?" Hifumi. Surveying the room, Hifumi heedlessly asked. "This is the first night unit's captain's room. Why are you here, bastard?" Rybezl. Holding a spear, he vigilantly sets up his stance facing Hifumi. It is a major cleanup. Things don't progress too well, if there is too much noise. Hifumi. Don't think it will be that easy. Rybezl. Following Rybezl's roar, two magicians jumped out from their hiding. With the same timing they shot a fireball. "Oh, it is the first time I have seen fire users." Hifumi. While saying those words in delight, Hifumi advanced forward and let the fireballs fly by. Rybezl's spear is thrust out at that place. New. Rybezl. It's a nice thrust. Hifumi. The spearhead grazed Hifumi's shoulder and ripped up his gi, but it hadn't reached his body. In correspondence, the katana was calmly swung horizontally as well. Rybezl swiftly drew back and the katana only cut air. Ignoring another spear thrust, Hifumi leaped and chopped down one of the magicians. Don't play with fire indoors. That's thoughtless. Hifumi. The magician, cut with a single stroke from the top of his shoulders, has died instantly. Shit. Magician. As the other let loose a second fireball, Hifumi, turning around, cut the fireball in two. Oh, I took a chance and tested it and see there, I can slice it apart after all. Hifumi. While wondering somewhat whether you can still call this a katana anymore, he stabs the heart of the frightened magician. The moment he brings down the blade sideways, avoiding getting it stuck in a bone, the spear approaches from the flank with an ideal timing. Oh, Hifumi. While feeling reluctant to respond to the thrust, Hifumi fell over, parting with the katana in his hand. Furthermore, as Hifumi is tumbling on the rolling over again and again, Rybezl assaults him with the spear. Hifumi, who quickly rose to a crouch on his knee, grabbed the spear and drove its pommel into the abdomen of Rybezl in reverse. Go Fu. Rybezl. Letting go of his spear, Rybezl collapses. When he rises quickly to his feet in spite of coughing violently, Hifumi is wielding his spear in front of his eyes. It is a nice spear. The balance is great and its weight is just right as well. Hifumi. Having his personal spear thrust at him, Rybezl backs off. Do you kill unarmed opponents? Rybezl. What are you saying? Hifumi. Just as Hifumi spoke in astonishment, several knights rushed into the room. The noise from just now. Knight A. Are you safe, Captain? Knight B. Although the knights were taken aback the second they saw the vice-captain's corpse and Hifumi holding the spear, they immediately set up and confronted Hifumi. You could say, as one would have predicted. You bastard, what are you doing here? Knight C. Without replying, after Hifumi spun the spear and determinedly knocked the jaw of Rybezl with the pommel, making him fall over, he struck the leading knight's eyes, throat and both feet, the four places with no armor, in a flash. Even as the knight died, gushing forth blood from his entire body, the surrounding knights didn't understand what had happened. Moreover, Hifumi even ran the spearhead into the knight's throat, standing crossways, and cut it open. Why are you standing around doing nothing? Since you were taught how to use a spear, get over here quickly. Hifumi. Losing their temper, the knights thrust their spears with all their strength. While skillfully averting the united spearheads, one after another is falling down, spurting blood out. There aren't only thrusts in the spear art. Hifumi. Closing in onto his opponent while repelling a single stab, Hifumi rams the pommel into his opponent's foot as he pushes his shoulder, toppling him over. Rotating the spear, Hifumi reaps through his neck. Moreover, as the next opponent attacks, Hifumi turns his spear, entangles the approaching weapon and disarms him. The opponent, being dumbfounded of having lost his weapon, died with a single lunge. Within the unfolding blood-stained tragedy, Rybezl, whose jaw had been struck, shook off the twinkling stars in front of his eyes by swinging his head while he advanced to a corner of the room on unsteady feet. As he presses his hand on one part of the wall, a hole, barely wide enough for a single person, opens. Rybezl crawled into it. Though he feels the presence of Rybezl escaping, Hifumi brushes away all the spears held at the ready of the first night unit's reinforcements that had come from somewhere while deciding it's fine to ignore him. If the first night unit and the prince link up as is, it will save him the hassle of expressly calling them back if Rybezl reports the current situation. If he rallies his colleagues of the first night unit that aren't here during his escape, the result will be that it will be split in two. The prince's faction, centering on the third night unit, will take a defending stance with the castle as base, if the numbers of the first night unit are few, or the prince faction, centering on the first and second night unit, will have to start by capturing the base, if the numbers of the first night unit are many. If that's how it turns out, they will make frantic efforts to fight with each other, I guess. Well now, it's time to finish the cleaning soon, right? Hifumi. As Hifumi motivated himself with a nice smile in a state of being soaked in the blood of his victims, the knights didn't understand the reason and panicked. Parting with 1/3 of the first night unit's personnel this night, half of the remaining people surrendered and swore allegiance to the prince's faction and the other half chased after Rybezl, who left the capital behind. With this, can't you say that only the number of knights in the prince faction and the princess faction roughly balances out? If there aren't many on the side attacking the castle, the balance will be bad. Hifumi leaked out his dissatisfaction as it became the next day. No one except Origa approved. Morning has come. The civil officials and nobles, who attended as they aren't live-ins, were puzzled over the heavy mood within the castle. Confirming to which night unit each knight belongs without making a single exception, stretchers were carried in from a separate entrance one by one and something was carried out. Did something happen? Official. A single female civil official, commuting to work, visited a knight doing inspections. The greeted knight, with darkly shadowed eyes, replied blankly. Just a little. They were killing each other during the night. Night. Official. Ah, it's safe already. Lord Touno finished it all. Night. But, take care to not utter thoughtless things. The knight warns her to pay attention since she could literally be beheaded. Raising a sudden shriek after seeing a stretcher covered with a cloth over there, she could see the head of a person tumbling down at that place. A head. Official. The civil official, who had become ghastly pale, tried to think one way or another about the reason for the confrontation. Being worked to death with the after disposal of the mayhem, the knights are stuck with doing overtime within the castle, that had a smell of blood drifting all over. And, is Imeraria-sama safe? Official. Of course, she has the Knight Sama with the slender sword at her side, she hasn't a single scratch. Knight. While the civil official looks relieved and says that's good, the knight added in his mind, at least not on her body. Getting through the overnight tragedy, Imeraria completes the organization of Orsongrund. The main part of the nobles also move from the prince faction to the princess faction. Many of the nobles rushed, pretending to do courtesy calls, to visit Imeraria for the sake of pledging their allegiance to her. Subduing the feeling of boredom, Imeraria handles the nobles coming to tell her that she can depend on them from now on. In her back Hifumi's figure was visible, brightly smiling in absolute satisfaction. After several meetings with the nobles ended, Hifumi told her that he will leave the castle soon. The basic preparations have been completed. Do your best in forming your own future. Hifumi. Where are you off to this time? Imeraria. I will go visit Vichy. After that. You will be the one deciding that, no? See ya. Hifumi. After seeing off Hifumi's group, she entrusts her back to the deep chair and shuts her eyes. It's the real deal from here on out. Imeraria. During the consultation with the Prime Minister, we have decided to hold the enthronement in the near future. The consequence will be that the news will be circulated to my brother, I guess. I wanted to lay the foundation as new queen, as official successor, before Prince Aperos returns to the capital. If I possess overwhelming authority, I will conversely be able to protect Aperos, I hope, Imeraria is estimating. For the sake of that, I must avoid the quagmire of civil war. For that reason, I have to get strong myself first. Imeraria. Thinking of the people who had died, Imeraria persuaded herself to apologize after everything ends.